Hi, it's Wasabi. Welcome back to the channel. This is a tank review of the new Tier 9 American heavy tank in the premium lines, the T54 Heavy. It's coming out with the auction that is starting at the time this video is released, and we'll show you the characteristics of the tank and comparisons to some other tanks, and you can make your mind up whether you want to bid for this. Now, as this video has been compiled before the auction starts, I can't really say, what the auction format is, but of course you'll see that as soon as you connect to the game when the auction starts. So leave that part aside. All right, now you can see some fairly familiar characteristics of the outline of the tank, sort of very similar looking to the M60 line, but it's really based on the T54E1. So let's have a quick look at the hull of the T54E1, and you see it's almost identical. Really the main difference is the turret, where the T54E1 has a auto-loading turret, that sort of oscillating style, but you can see the hull design is fairly similar. But there are differences, and the main differences really, and we'll get into these in a second when we do the comparison, is the frontal armour of both the hull and the turret is stronger on the T54 Heavy. Now, of course, the other major differences are the fact that it's a premium tank, so you can swap crews in and out without any penalty. So, for example, we have here in the T54E1, we've got a fully skilled crew set. This is because it's on a test account, so they've got all the skills necessary. They've got none in the T54 Heavy. So let's just take them out of the T54E1, send them all to the barracks. We'll go to our T54, and you can see we can put the T54E1 commander in, etc. You can see, although the tank name is in red, indicates it's not for that vehicle, but you can see that there's no penalties on the characteristics of the crew there. So yeah, so basically that's the main difference there. So let's just chuck them back in the T54E1, because I want to show you the base characteristics of the tank without any additional influences, and then we'll show you what you can get if you add all of the suitable modules and things like that. For the comparison, I've actually added the M103 because it's another US heavy tank at the line, and it's similar in characteristics to the T54 Heavy. So let's see how this compares. All right, so in terms of alpha damage, the T54 Heavy comes out in front, just ahead of both of them. They're both around 400, 390, 400, whereas 450 for the T54 Heavy. Average pen, now this is I think with the standard round, or the premium round, so let's just configure that one. So apologies for that. Let's pick the premium round. So we're just giving its best results here. So 300 pen for the premium round on the T54 Heavy is actually the lowest. So, but it should be enough to battle in tier 10s even. That's not an unreasonable sort of number, and it's a heat round as well. Now, rate of fire, okay, not as good as the M103, so M103 getting a higher output, and definitely higher DPM. Certainly doesn't have the burst damage of the T54E1, which is about 1560 in just under 7 seconds, but again, that's an auto loader, so really not a fair comparison there. But overall DPM fairly similar. Now, gun traverse speed, well, this is where the T54E1's got a big advantage there, but yeah, not much different to the M103 actually, so going to be very similar in operations there. Much better gun depression, but as you'll see in the tanks.gg view coming up, that there's still a weakness in the armour layout of the T54 Heavy that even with 12 degrees gun depression doesn't quite cover up. Aiming time, the M103 is better, 2.1. 2.5 not too shabby, given it's a quarter of the reload time, so that's pretty straightforward. Gun dispersion, M103 has a better gun, and of course this is the top gun that we're comparing it to on the M103, and the M103 comes out on top with DPM. Now, hit point wise, actually the lowest of the three, so 1700, it's only 150 less than the T54E1, so similar there. But in terms of armour layout, this is where we get some changes here. So 254 millimeters of frontal hull armour compares quite well to both the T54E1 and even to the M103. Got similar turret frontal armour, looks like the same to the M103. The M103's actually got better side armour on the turret, but lower rear armour on the turret, so swings and roundabouts, I guess. If you're going to get shot in the side or the rear of the turret, 99mm is going to help you in Tier 9 or Tier 10 battles anyway. And then let's have a look at mobility. This is another change here. So all relatively the same in terms of weight, although the M103 with the top engine's got a better power output, but you can see that the specific power are all relatively the same. So mobility fairly similar, and in fact the T54E1's got better reverse speed. The T54 Heavy is actually better than the M103 in reverse speed as well. So mobility are fairly similar all around between that and the 103. Traverse speed again, well actually slower completely in terms of traverse speed for the T54 Heavy, so this is going to make it a bit harder to manoeuvre around corners in particular, although the M103 not much further in front, so not a great deal. Won't worry about camo, it's just these two have both got camo paint on them, so which makes a small difference. But view ranges where we see a difference here. So this actually got a base view range of 400, so it's not too bad, and then M103 only slightly better, so not a big difference there. All right, so that's basically the stats comparison. I think with equipment and so on, you can definitely make them all better, but I've put them all fairly standard in terms of their equipment, so this is more for comparison purposes rather than all-out top capability. But definitely adding food will bring that gun loading down even further for both of them, but the M103, they're the standout in terms of DPM. All right, so let's go back and have a look at the game at the tanks.gg layout. All right, so here we are with 12 degrees of gun depression. Let's put it in a view that, as you would see it from a ridgeline. So this is your maximum depression, and here you can see that you still have a view of the cupola. So this is sort of there, it's a little bit smaller, but definitely you've got a chance to pen that if you can hit it, and it's not an impossible hit. There's many tanks with much smaller cupolas that even front on you would, would be even harder to hit, but you still can. So, definitely take your chances to shoot that Scorpion gun, and even with, if we go back to standard, the AP round, that is still penetratable. It's got 210 millimeters of penetration, I think, for the standard round, so it's definitely still penning that at 190 millimeters. Now the rest of it definitely will bounce over the ridge line. So front of the turret, top of the front plate, assuming you're covering this part of your tank, then you're still basically got that risk of being penetrated through the cupola. So that is going to be a major weakness of the tank in that respect, on top of the mobility. Will that make a difference? Well, that's what we're going to have a look at. I have some gameplay here, courtesy of 99 Destroyer, one of our other CCs, so I'll link his channel in the description below. You can see he's running hardening and improved gun rammer and improved aiming, not improved aiming, gun stabilizer. So might see what effect that has back in the garage, but he's also running food there. Now, this particular battle is the lower tier, so it's a tier 10 to tier 9 battle, so here's the bottom tier. So I picked this particularly because of that effect. I'll see how the tank performs in that area. Now, may not get a huge amount of use of the gun depression in this particular match, but again, we'll see how the tank performs overall, which is probably what you most want to see. No one really wants to see if it's a great hold down tank necessarily. It's not the only thing it should be good at. Can it dish out damage, and can it take hits in return fairly evenly? So again, what we're looking at potentially is how the frontal armour stands up. Not expecting to see any side scraping as such, but alright. So we are coming up to an area on the fields map. Alright, gun as well. Now, no feedback there, so that didn't sound like a hit. You can see the reticle size. Can you get a hit this time? Yes, you can. Alright, so seeing fairly average results so far, only 2 shots fired. So how it continues to perform. There you go, another penetrating shot. So it's that 140 there, whether it was just missed. You can see the reticle a little bit bigger than the size of the tank, but not much. So this time it definitely penetrated. So it's the first shot missed. So yeah, again, I'm not saying this is a trolley gun at all, but it's something you're going to look out for. And maybe you won't be doing a lot of sniping. Although the range there, not so huge. Here we've got another target there. Snapshots for the Jagdpanzer E100. Again, no sound. So thinking whether that's it. Now that Jagdpanzer E100 not paying attention to 99. And that time he hits. So can get some more hits in. Snapshot here. Well, then snapshot that time connects. So that will be the vertical stabilizer helping there in that respect, but anyway, so far no incoming shells, so nothing to show that, but nicely gets a kill and gets spotted again. So no one seems to be paying attention in that respect. The Jagdpanzer E100 definitely facing a different direction. Now that shot missed again, but he did go dark, and it's not clear when targets are completely dark how your ballistics work. So he finally did take a hit there. And you can see that his armour really didn't stand up to that, but have a look at that in a second. Alright. See as he bounces off, not totally surprising. There's a Monkey King or a 121B. That doesn't hit in that shot too, so yeah, I guess we're seeing not a completely reliable gun. Right, he has been using his standard rounds here though, but it's not that it's not penetrating, it's just not hitting, but certainly that time it did. Alright, we've got a Death Star right in front of him. This could be a bit interesting. Hopefully the Death Star is just fired, in which case he's on about a 30-second. Now this is close distance, so no problem connecting there with the gun. And we're not showing many more characteristics. His armor's definitely not going to stand up to the Death Star, but the Death Star clearly still in reload, and now he ducks down before he becomes a target. And hopefully Death Star's fired again. No, he hadn't, so he kills 99. Well, yeah, so did the armor stand up? Not necessarily. Was it the best condition? No, that was definitely sight on, so that wasn't a real test, but nonetheless, that is the end of 99's game in that one. Anyway, a short selection, but it does show you at least the handling of the tank and the gun handling, and yeah, I think we can say that's, you know, not fantastic, but it's certainly not the best. You know, it's not overpowered either. Anyway, let's jump back to the garage. Right, I guess to summarise the gameplay there, yeah, I think it to be a reasonable tank to acquire if you know, the cost of it's not too high. Will it be sold for EXP or credits? I'm not really sure, but I think that's going to be your judgment, whether it's worthwhile in that respect. Tier 9 heavy tank, it's going to be fairly similar to the M103 in a lot of ways in terms of the mobility and the gun. And again, the cupola on top is going to be the thing that you're most worried about. But I think on the move, that, you know, if you keep moving the tank around, that may be, you know, a mitigating way of playing the tank on ridge lines. But the reverse speed, not fantastic. So I think that to take into account, maybe potentially you run a turbo on it. That would certainly help with that as well. As we saw with 99's build out with improved hardening and then improved equipment for the other components, that really didn't help him stand up to a Death Star, but again, no one's really expecting you to do that either. So I think overall, I mean, he did do 3.5k of damage in that short time, so the alpha of the gun definitely helping that respect, and I think the you know, the difference in the gun characteristics to the T54E1, you know, it really comes down to your playstyle. If you prefer standard loading guns, then I think this might be a better tank than the T54E1. but otherwise should play relatively similarly. So anyway, hopefully this has given you enough information to make your mind up as to whether you want to acquire the tank. If you think that's helped you or you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please check out my other content and you can decide whether you want to do that as well. Anyway, that's the end of the video, so thanks very much for watching.